There comes a time in life when you have to understand something deeply, when you have to embrace it with every fiber of your being. That something is just not everyone in your life is meant to stay. Not everyone deserves access to you, to your heart, to your energy. And sometimes the greatest power you have is the power of silence. You see, a lot of us are taught to react. We live in a world where everybody is looking for a reaction, whether it's in person or online. People are provoking, pushing buttons, testing boundaries, trying to see how far they can go. People are daring you to react because to them, your reaction gives them validation. It confirms that they have control over your emotions, that they can shift your mood, that they can steal your peace. And in that moment when you react, you give them a piece of yourself. You give away your power. You let them live rent-free in your mind, in your soul. Now I want you to listen closely. There's a difference between reacting and responding. A reaction is emotional, it's instinctive. It's that moment when someone pushes you and without thinking you push back. It's when someone insults you and you feel the sting and you let those words get under your skin, and before you even realize it, you're in the middle of an argument, a shouting match, or a fight. But a response? A response is measured. A response is thoughtful. A response comes from a place of power because you've taken the time to consider what's best for you, not for them. You see, when you react, you're thinking about what they've done to you. You're thinking about the offense, the insult, the slight. But when you respond, you're thinking about yourself, about what's best for your peace, for your growth, for your life. And sometimes the best response is no response at all. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is cut them off silently, without drama, without fanfare, without giving them any more of your energy. Let me tell you something, silence is powerful. Silence speaks volumes. And in your silence, you are saying, you don't control me, you don't define me, you don't have the power to disturb my peace. Cutting someone off doesn't always mean making a big announcement. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone who isn't willing to respect your boundaries, your peace, your worth. You don't owe them a reaction. You don't owe them a reaction. You don't owe them a scene. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to walk away quietly, to distance yourself without any explanation. Because here's the truth, your peace is your responsibility. Your mental health is your responsibility. Your joy, your success, your healing, all of that belongs to you. And nobody has the right to take that away from you unless you allow it. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that's easier said than done. How do I just walk away? How do I just cut someone off without saying a word, without reacting? Well, let me tell you something, it's not easy. It takes strength. It takes discipline. But most of all, it takes self-respect. You've got to respect yourself enough to know when enough is enough. Let me ask you something. How many times have you stayed in situations, in relationships, in friendships, or even jobs that drained you, that made you feel less than? How many times have you allowed people to mistreat you, to disrespect you, to take advantage of your kindness? Because you thought, if I just hang on a little longer, maybe they'll change, maybe things will get better. How many times have you given someone chance after chance only to find that they never really appreciated you in the first place? And let me tell you, that's not on them. That's on you. You have to take responsibility for the access you give to people in your life. If someone doesn't value your presence, then they don't deserve your energy. You see, not everybody is for you. Not everybody is meant to walk with you on your journey. And the more you try to hold on to people who don't have your best interests at heart, the more you weigh yourself down. The more you let their negativity, their toxicity, their drama become a part of your story, the more you lose sight of your own path, your own purpose. But when you cut them off, when you step back and say, I choose me, you are reclaiming your power. You are telling the universe, I know my worth, I know my value, and I'm not going to let anyone or anything disturb my peace. And that's when you start to grow. That's when you start to thrive. Now, I'm not saying you should go around cutting everybody off. No, that's not the point. The point is discernment. You've got to be wise about who you let into your life, who you give your time, your energy, your love. Because not everybody is deserving of it. Some people are only there for a season, for a lesson, and once that season is over, you've got to let them go. And let me tell you something about those people who try to provoke you, who try to get a reaction out of you. They thrive on your attention. They feed off of your emotional response. They want to see you lose control because that makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel like they've won. But when you cut them off, when you refuse to engage, when you refuse to give them the reaction they're looking for, you are taking away their power. You are taking away their ability to control you. And that, my friend, is the ultimate victory. You don't need to argue with someone to prove your point. You don't need to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to fight for your dignity. Your dignity is inherent. It's something no one can take away from you unless you give them permission. So stop giving people that permission. Stop letting their words, their actions, their disrespect get to you. Let them talk, let them do what they do. But you stay focused, you stay grounded. You keep your eyes on the prize, on your goals, on your peace. I want you to understand something about life. It's not about how much noise you can make. It's about how much peace you can create. It's about how you can protect that peace in a world that's constantly trying to shake you, to rattle you, to get you to react. Don't let them win. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you flustered, upset, or out of control. No, you hold your head high. You walk with grace, and you cut them off silently without a second thought. You see, silence isn't weakness. Silence is strength, is restraint, it's wisdom. Because sometimes the loudest thing you can do is say nothing at all. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is to walk away. People will try to test you. They will try to see how far they can push you. And when they realize they can't get a rise out of you, when they realize you're unbothered, that's when they lose their grip on you. That's when they realize they can no longer manipulate you, no longer control you. And let me tell you, it's liberating, it's freeing when you finally let go of the need to react. When you finally realize that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to engage in the drama, the pettiness, the negativity. All you have to do is protect your peace. And sometimes that means cutting people off quietly, without warning, without explanation. Just walking away and never looking back. Now, I'm not saying you won't feel anything. I'm not saying it won't hurt. It will. It will hurt because you care. You care about the people in your life. You care about relationships. You care about making things work. But caring doesn't mean you have to tolerate being disrespected, mistreated, or undervalued. You can care and still choose yourself. You can love and still let go. That's a hard lesson, but an essential one. Because if you don't, you end up losing yourself in the process of trying to hold on to people who aren't meant to stay. When you cut people off silently, you're doing it not out of malice, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. And that's a distinction I want you to understand. Cutting someone off silently isn't about revenge. It's not about proving a point. It's not about saying, look at me, I don't need you. No, it's about peace. It's about removing yourself from situations that no longer serve you, that no longer align with the person you're becoming. Because here's the truth: as you grow, as you evolve, as you step into the fullness of who you are, not everyone is going to come with you. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to come with you. Some people are only meant to be a chapter in your life, not the whole story. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you'll find peace in the process of letting go. Letting go doesn't make you cold-hearted. It doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, letting go is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. Because when you hold on to people who don't value you, you're telling yourself that you don't deserve better. You're telling yourself that it's okay to be treated less than, to be taken for granted. But when you let go, when you cut them off silently, you're making a statement to the universe, to yourself, that you deserve more, that you are worthy of respect, of love, of peace. And don't get it twisted, cutting someone off doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you wish them harm. No, cutting someone off silently is simply a way of protecting your energy. It's about preserving your peace. It's about choosing yourself over the chaos, over the drama, over the pain that someone else brings into your life. Think about it this way: if someone is constantly bringing you negativity, constantly draining your energy, constantly making you feel small or unworthy, why would you continue to allow them in your space? Why would you continue to give them access to your heart, to your mind, to your spirit? You wouldn't let someone walk into your home and trash the place, would you? You wouldn't let someone come into your house and break things and leave it a mess. So why would you let someone come into your life and do the same thing to your soul? Your soul is your home, your mind, your spirit, your heart. That's your sacred space. And not everyone deserves access to it. There comes a point when you have to realize that you are the gatekeeper of your life. You decide who comes in and who goes out. You decide who gets to stay and who has to leave. And sometimes you don't need to make a big announcement. You don't need to throw a fit or have a confrontation. You just quietly close the door. You just silently walk away. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but what if they don't understand? What if they don't get why I'm cutting them off? Let me tell you something: you don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your peace. You don't owe anyone a reason for choosing yourself. If someone truly cared about you, if they truly respected you, they wouldn't need an explanation. They would understand that your silence speaks louder than words. And here's another thing: sometimes silence is the only language people understand. Sometimes when words fail, when explanations fall on deaf ears, silence is the only answer. Because silence is powerful. Silence is undeniable. You can argue with words, you can twist words, you can manipulate words, but you can't argue with silence. Silence is final. Silence says, I'm done, I'm moving on. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with people not understanding your silence, not understanding why you chose to walk away. Because the truth is, not everyone will get it. Not everyone will see the bigger picture. Some people will take it personally. They'll think you're being cold or distant or harsh, but that's not your concern. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself. Your responsibility is to protect your energy, to guard your peace, to nurture your growth. And if that means cutting people off silently, then so be it. You see, the thing about reacting, about engaging in conflict, is that it keeps you stuck. It keeps you tethered to the situation, to the person, to the drama. When you react, you're still connected. You're still in the thick of it. But when you cut someone off silently, you sever that connection. You free yourself from the hold they have over you. And that's where your power lies. In your ability to walk away without looking back. In your ability to choose peace over conflict, silence over chaos, self-respect over the need to be right. Because at the end of the day, it's not about winning the argument. It's not about proving a point. It's about living in peace. It's about protecting your space, your energy, your spirit. So stop reacting. Stop giving people the satisfaction of knowing they've gotten under your skin. Stop letting their words, their actions, their negativity control you. You are in control of your life, of your emotions, of your peace. And sometimes the best way to maintain that control is to cut them off silently, to walk away without a word, without a second thought. And let me tell you, it won't be easy. It won't always feel good. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if you made the right choice. There will be times when you feel the urge to react, to defend yourself, to prove your point. But in those moments, I want you to remember this: your peace is priceless. Your peace is worth more than any argument, any conflict, any reaction. And anyone who threatens that peace doesn't deserve a place in your life. You have to be willing to protect your peace at all costs. You have to be willing to walk away from anything or anyone that disturbs your peace, that drains your energy, that disrupts your spirit. Because your peace is your power. Your peace is your strength. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to cut them off silently. Now I know it's hard. I know it's painful to let go, especially when you've invested time, energy, love into someone or something. But you have to ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this adding to my life, or is it taking away from my peace? And if the answer is that it's taking away, if the answer is that it's draining you, then you know what you have to do. You have to walk away. And let me tell you, when you start cutting people off silently, when you start protecting your peace, something incredible happens. You begin to attract the right people into your life. You begin to attract situations, relationships, and opportunities that align with your spirit, that nourish your soul, that uplift you. Because here's the thing: when you're surrounded by negativity, by drama, by toxic energy, you don't have room for the good stuff. You don't have room for the people who will love you, respect you, support you. But when you clear out the negativity, when you cut off the people who no longer serve you, you make space for the blessings to come in. You make space for growth. You make space for healing. You make space for joy. And that's what it's all about: creating space in your life for the things that truly matter, for the things that bring you peace, for the people who lift you higher. So don't be afraid to cut people off. Don't be afraid to walk away silently. Don't be afraid to choose yourself, to choose your peace, to choose your joy. Because at the end of the day, you are the most important person in your life. And your peace. That's something you should never compromise. You've got to stop letting people who don't value you take up space in your mind, in your heart, in your soul. You've got to stop giving them the power to affect your mood, to steal your joy, to disturb your peace. Let them go. Cut them off, and do it quietly, without a scene, without a fuss, without a word. Because when you do, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your peace. And that, my friends, is the ultimate freedom. That's the kind of freedom that no one can take from you. That's the kind of freedom that allows you to live your life on your own terms without being weighed down by the negativity of others. So I'm telling you now, don't react. Don't engage. Don't get pulled into the drama. Cut them off silently. Walk away with grace, with dignity, with peace, and watch how your life changes for the better. Now, I want to take a moment to address something that might be weighing on your mind. You're probably wondering, how do I do this? How do I just cut someone off without reacting, without saying a word? It sounds easy in theory, but in practice, it feels impossible. Let me be honest with you, it's not going to happen overnight. This isn't about flipping a switch and suddenly becoming immune to people's negativity. It's a process, it's a journey, but it starts with a decision. It starts with you making a conscious choice to prioritize your peace over everything else. You have to want it. You have to want your peace more than you want their approval. You have to want your sanity more than you want to be right. You have to want your growth more than you want to keep the peace with people who don't deserve a place in your life. The first step is awareness. You've got to be aware of the people and situations that trigger you. You've got to recognize when you're falling into the trap of reacting instead of responding. You've got to notice when your energy is being drained, when your peace is being disturbed, when you're giving too much of yourself to people who don't appreciate it. Because if you're not aware, if you're not paying attention, you'll keep reacting out of habit. You'll keep engaging in conflict because it's what you've always done. But once you're aware, you can start to make different choices. You can start to respond instead of react. And sometimes that response is no response at all. The next step is boundaries. This is a word we throw around a lot. But let me break it down for you. Boundaries are about deciding what you will and will not tolerate in your life. They're about drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is what I need to protect my peace, to protect my energy, to protect my energy, to protect my sanity. And if you can't respect that, then you can't be in my life. And here's the thing about boundaries, they're not for other people, they're for you. They're about you deciding what's acceptable in your life and what's not. You don't need anyone's permission to set boundaries. You don't need to explain your boundaries to anyone. Your boundaries are for your protection, not for their comfort. And let me tell you something about people who push your boundaries. They're not going to like it when you enforce them. They're going to test you. They're going to try to make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. They're going to accuse you of being selfish or cold or distant, but you can't let that stop you. You can't let their opinions, their feelings, their reactions dictate how you live your life. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with the consequences of allowing toxic people in your life. You're the one who has to deal with the stress, the anxiety, the exhaustion that comes from constantly being pulled into their drama. So set your boundaries, stick to them. And if they don't like it, that's not your problem. That's theirs. And this brings me to the next point. You've got to be okay with being misunderstood. You've got to be okay with people not liking your decision to cut them off silently. Because here's the truth, some people are so used to you reacting, so used to you engaging in their drama, that when you stop, they don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know how to handle your silence. They don't know how to handle your boundaries. And instead of respecting them, they'll try to pull you back into the cycle. They'll try to provoke you to get a rise out of you to make you question your decision. But you can't let that shake you. You've got to stay firm. You've got to stay grounded. You've got to stay committed to your peace, to your boundaries, to your decision to walk away. Because if you give in, if you react, you're back in the same place you were before, trapped in the cycle of negativity, of conflict, of emotional exhaustion. You've got to be strong enough to let go, even when it hurts. You've got to be strong enough to choose silence over reaction, peace over drama, self-respect over the need to be understood. Because not everyone is going to understand why you're cutting them off. Not everyone is going to see the bigger picture. But that's okay. Their understanding is not required for your peace to be valid. And here's the beautiful thing about cutting people off silently. It's not about ending relationships with anger or resentment. It's not about carrying bitterness in your heart. No, it's about freeing yourself. It's about letting go of the weight of relationships that no longer serve you. It's about creating space for new, healthier, more fulfilling connections. When you cut people off silently, you're saying, I release you. I release this situation. I release this negativity from my life. And in that release, you find freedom. You find peace. You find healing. Now, let's talk about healing for a moment. Because cutting people off silently isn't just about protecting your peace in the moment. It's about healing the wounds that have been caused by toxic relationships, by negative energy, by constant conflict. It's about allowing yourself to heal from the hurt, the disappointment, the betrayal that comes from being mistreated, disrespected, or undervalued. And healing takes time. Healing is a process. But you can't begin to heal if you're still holding on to the things, the people, the situations that are causing you pain. You can't heal if you're still engaging with people who trigger your wounds, who reopen old scars, who keep you stuck in a cycle of hurt. That's why cutting people off silently is so powerful. It allows you to step away from the source of the pain. It allows you to create distance between yourself and the things that are keeping you from healing. And in that distance, in that space, you can begin to heal. You can begin to rebuild. You can begin to find peace within yourself. And let me tell you something about healing. It's not just about getting over the pain. It's about growing from it. It's about learning from the experience. It's about becoming stronger, wiser, more resilient because of it. When you cut people off silently, you're not just walking away from them, you're walking towards your healing. You're walking towards a better version of yourself. You're walking towards a life that's filled with peace, with joy, with love. And I want to make something very clear. Cutting people off silently doesn't mean you hate them. It doesn't mean you wish them harm. It doesn't mean you're holding on to anger or bitterness. No, it means you're choosing to prioritize your own well-being. It means you're choosing to let go of the things that no longer serve you without harboring resentment, without carrying the weight of the past. Because here's the thing about hate, about bitterness: it doesn't hurt the other person, it only hurts you. It weighs you down, it keeps you stuck. It keeps you from moving forward, from growing, from healing. And that's not what you want. You want peace. You want freedom. You want healing. So when you cut people off silently, do it with love, do it with grace, do it with the understanding that you're doing what's best for you, for your peace, for your growth, and let them go. Let go of the anger, the resentment, the need to prove anything to anyone. Let go of the need to be right. Let go of the need for validation, for approval. Because at the end of the day, the only approval you need is your own. The only validation that matters is the validation you give yourself. The only person you need to be right with is you. And when you cut people off silently, when you walk away without reacting, without engaging in conflict, you're affirming your own worth. You're saying to yourself, I deserve better. I deserve peace. I deserve happiness. And that, my friends, is the most powerful statement you can make. So let's talk about what happens after you cut them off silently. What happens when you've made the decision, drawn the boundary, and walked away? There's a transition period of time when you might feel a sense of emptiness, uncertainty, or even guilt. After all, you've likely spent a lot of time with these people, investing emotional energy, care, and love into the relationship. And cutting someone off silently, even when necessary, can feel like a loss. But here's the truth: you have to embrace that space. You have to sit with that discomfort. You have to trust that in the space left behind, something better will come. It's in that emptiness that growth happens. It's in that quiet, that solitude, that you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. For so long, you've been hearing the voices of others, the opinions, the judgments, the criticisms. But when you cut them off silently, you finally make room to hear yourself. And that's one of the most powerful outcomes of this process. When you no longer have to react to negativity, to toxic energy, you have the opportunity to tune into your own needs, your own desires, your own intuition. You start to remember who you are outside of the noise, outside of the chaos, outside of the expectations others have placed on you. In that silence, you begin to reconnect with yourself. And that's the real gift. You see, cutting people off isn't just about getting rid of negativity. It's about creating space for something new, something positive, something that aligns with who you truly are. When you cut people off silently, you're telling yourself that you are enough. You don't need external validation, approval, or permission to live your life according to your values, your peace, your joy. And in that space, that quiet space of self-discovery, something beautiful happens. You start to attract the right kind of people into your life. You start to attract people who respect your boundaries, who uplift you, who see you for who you are and love you for it. But that can't happen if you're still holding on to the wrong people. You can't welcome in the new while clinging to the old. That's why cutting people off silently is an act of faith. It's trusting that once you let go of what's not meant for you, something better is on its way. And that's not just about relationships, it's about everything. It's about opportunities, dreams, growth. When you clear out the clutter, when you remove the noise, you make space for the things that are truly meant for you to enter your life. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not always an immediate reward. There's a waiting period. There's a time when you might feel like nothing is happening. You might look around and wonder, where are the blessings? Where is the peace I was promised? Where is the joy? And in those moments, it's easy to second guess yourself, to think maybe I should go back. Maybe I should reach out. Maybe I should have reacted differently. But hold on, stay firm, stay in your peace, because real growth takes time. Real change takes time. And just because you don't see it right away doesn't mean it's not happening. In fact, the most profound transformations often happen in the quiet, in the stillness, when you least expect it. Think about nature for a moment. A seed doesn't grow into a tree overnight. It spends time in the darkness beneath the soil where no one can see it. But during that time, it's developing roots. It's preparing for the moment when it will break through the surface and reach for the sun. That's what happens to you when you cut people off silently. You're planting seeds of peace, of growth, of healing. And even though you can't always see it right away, trust that those seeds are growing. Trust that they're taking root deep within you. And when they do, when the time is right, you will see the fruits of that decision. You will see how your life begins to flourish in ways you never imagined. You will see how much lighter you feel, how much more peace you have, how much more joy is in your heart. But let me tell you, this joy isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you choose, just like peace, just like love, just like cutting people off silently. These are choices. These are decisions you make every single day. And when you choose joy, when you choose peace, when you choose to protect your energy, you are making a statement to the universe that you are worthy of good things. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of happiness. You see, the people who drain you, the ones you need to cut off, they don't just take your time and energy, they rob you of your joy. They rob you of the opportunity to live fully, to live freely, to live with an open heart. And you can't afford that. You can't afford to give away your joy to people who don't value it. You can't afford to let their negativity dictate your life. Because here's the thing, no one is responsible for your happiness but you. No one is responsible for your peace but you. No one is responsible for your joy but you. And the moment you realize that, the moment you take ownership of your happiness, your peace, your joy, that's the moment your life changes. And that's what cutting people off silently is all about. It's about taking responsibility for your life. It's about taking back control of your happiness. It's about recognizing that you have the power to decide who and what gets to be a part of your life. But I want you to understand something. It's not just about who you cut off. It's also about who you let in. Because once you've created that space, once you've cleared out the negativity, you have to be intentional about what you allow into your life. You have to be selective about the energy, the people, the experiences you invite into your space. You see, once you've experienced peace, once you've tasted the freedom that comes from cutting people off silently, you become protective of it. You become more discerning. You start to recognize the red flags early. You start to sense when someone or something isn't aligned with your peace, your joy, your growth. And here's the thing, when you've been through the process of cutting people off, you develop a kind of inner strength, a resilience, a sense of self-worth that no one can take away from you. You stop seeking validation from others because you found it within yourself. You stop needing people to tell you who you are because you already know. And that's where your true power lies. Not in how you react, not in how you respond to others, but in how you choose to protect your peace, how you choose to prioritize your well-being, how you choose to show up in your own life. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what if I cut someone off and they change? What if they come back into my life and they've grown and they want to make things right? Listen to me carefully. People can change, they can grow, they can evolve. But that doesn't mean you have to let them back into your life. That doesn't mean you have to open the door to them again. Because your growth, your peace, your well-being is your priority. And sometimes people grow, but they're still not aligned with who you are now. You can forgive someone. You can wish them well. You can even love them from a distance. But that doesn't mean you have to allow them back into your life. Cutting someone off silently doesn't mean you're closing the door to their humanity. It just means you're choosing to protect your peace, your energy, your spirit. And if someone truly cares about you, if they truly respect you, they will understand that. They will respect your boundaries. They will honor the space you've created for yourself. And if they don't, then that's all the more reason to keep them out of your life. Because at the end of the day, it's not about them. It's about you. It's about your growth. It's about your peace. It's about the life you want to live. And you can't live that life if you're constantly reacting to negativity, constantly getting pulled into drama, constantly allowing toxic people to have access to your mind, your heart, your soul. So cut them off. Do it silently. Do it without guilt. Do it without looking back. And trust that in doing so, you are creating space for something better, something more aligned with who you are and where you're going. And remember, you are worthy of peace. You are worthy of joy. You are worthy of a life that is free from the weight of other people's negativity, free from the burden of constant conflict, free from the need to prove yourself to anyone but yourself. So don't react. Don't engage. Don't get pulled into the drama. Cut them off silently. Walk away with your peace intact. Walk away knowing that you are choosing yourself, your joy, your growth. And in that choice, you will find the freedom you've been searching for.